Hi, guys, it's Lydia, and welcome back to another episode of Children of Divorce. If you're new, welcome. If you're old, you know the drill. I'm going to talk about a lot of different things, kind of group them together, and make an episode about it. Today, I'm actually struggling. I'm still on my solo vacation in Portland, Maine. For those of you who are like, where on earth is she? I'm pretty sure the town of Portland, Maine are also confused why on earth this little British girl is here. But alas, I am, and I am taking the town by storm. And I'm eating all the lobster I can. But I have been struggling today with my body image, and I was thinking I actually needed to give my episode How to Deal with Bad Body Image Days a listen. But I realized that I also wanted to make another episode about kind of weight fluctuations and weight changes and how that can impact bad body image, because my weight has fluctuated so much over however many years at this point that I think my body just lives in a constant state of weight fluctuation. And yeah, that is what inspired today's episode. So, trigger warning, I'm not going to be mentioning exact numbers or my weight, but I will mention maybe some numbers or some talk about weight loss, that kind of thing. But I really don't mean to come across in a triggering way. I aim to speak about this topic with the goal of not triggering anyone. So just know that I'm speaking about it in a really loving way, and the only thing I am ever promoting is a healthy, sustainable body where you have food freedom. Over the past 3 years, I have gained, then lost, then gained again 20, 30 kilos. So my body's been through it. My body's been through the works. The first time I gained 20, 30 kilos, I was 17 years old, and it was my first attempt to recover from bulimia. I think I was losing it a little bit at that point with my eating disorder. My parents had tried to put me in recovery before when I was 14, but I didn't want to recover. I just kind of played along with it until eventually they left me alone. But then at 17, I had this realization that I just couldn't live the life that I was living anymore, and that I was starving all the time. I was in a very small body, or just not the right body weight for me, because I developed my eating disorder at the age of 10 and then basically maintained that weight until I was 16, 17. But I was the same weight at 16 that I was when I was 13 years old. And the only way I maintained that weight was because of bulimia and restrictive eating and a bunch of different eating disorders. And I didn't have a period, and I just realized that this was not sustainable, that I needed to do something. I needed to try to recover. So eventually at 17, I went into all-in recovery. For those of you who don't know what all-in recovery is, it's essentially when you just let yourself eat whatever you want, or that's what I understood it as. And you just let yourself eat whatever you want, and you give yourself permission and freedom to do so. And I didn't have a therapist at the time. I didn't really tell anyone what I was doing. I did not tell my parents that I was attempting to do this all in recovery, because they were under the impression that I had recovered from bulimia, or at least they were. I'm sure they had their suspicions that I still had an eating disorder, but I think we all kind of played this game that I was like, la la la, recovered. So I didn't tell my parents. I didn't tell my friends. I didn't have a therapist. I was just doing this kind of on my own. And I'd seen a few influencers or people speak about it, and I thought, let me try this method of recovery from an eating disorder. And in the space of about 2-3 months, I gained 20-30 kilos. Not saying that to scare you or anything like that. I know if you're in an eating disorder, it might be like, oh my God, that's a lot of weight. But like, I don't want the numbers to scare you, okay? It was a weight that my body needed to gain. If you're in the middle of an eating disorder right now, or if you just have a fear about weight gain, that might sound like a lot of weight to gain. And to be honest, it was. In the span of 2-3 months, it was a lot of weight to gain, and it was very difficult for me to manage that, to go from A to B so quickly, because I had just wrapped my head around this idea of all in recovery, and all of a sudden I was 20-30 kilos heavier. And it was 2 months before that I was saying I would rather die than gain weight. And then 2 months later, I am again 20-30 kilos heavier. And it was just such a rapid change and very difficult for me to manage that I immediately fell back into my eating disorder, and I immediately relapsed, basically. And when I relapsed, this was the summer before my final year of high school, and I felt so terrible because all of a sudden I had the exact same eating disorder brain, apart from I was 20-30 kilos heavier. And I was so angry with myself. I just remember how frustrated I was. I thought, how on earth could you have tried to recover? Why on earth would you let yourself gain that weight? Now look where we are. We have to lose all this weight. I was so fucking pissed with myself. I thought, wow, you just ate all that food, like you didn't need to get to this weight. I spoke so meanly to myself. I just remember being so angry with myself, and I thought, why on earth could you do this? I also was worried about what other people would think of me, that I'd rapidly gained this weight. No one questioned me about it, which like none of my friends at school, none of my family really said anything, which I think is both a green flag and also a red flag at the same time. I think people were being kind and didn't want to alert any attention to my weight, but also it was a lot for me to go through this by myself and to go through this weight gain and this attempt to recover by myself. And I think it would have been nice if someone had maybe been like, are you okay? Because I've noticed you've gained weight. Not that it looks bad or anything like that. I'm just wondering if there's something that you're going through that I could help you through. I think that's a really loving way to approach this situation. I think if you're in that position, or if you have a friend in that position, like if I were me again, maybe I would have reached out to family or to friends and said, hey, I'm gaining a lot of weight right now because I'm trying to recover from an eating disorder. I don't appreciate any comments about my body or things like that, but I would just like you to know so that maybe I'm not dealing with this alone. And then similarly, if I were a friend in that situation, I would approach someone and be like, you look fantastic. I'm saying this not in a bad way at all. I'm just saying this because I noticed you visibly changed. And the same way, if you'd lost weight, I would express a little bit of concern if everything's okay, because it's just a rapid change. So I think there are definitely kind ways to go about asking people and family and friends about weight gain or weight loss. It doesn't always have to be accusatory. I know it's a sensitive subject, but it's always better to say something and to ask if someone's okay, because I wasn't okay. So yeah, I relapsed and I was so fucking angry with myself. And I went straight into Operation Starvation. I called it Operation Starvation, but I had bulimia, so it did not go to plan. I spent the next year and a half of my life really struggling to lose weight, essentially. I lost all the weight that I'd gained eventually, and I ended up in a fucking eating disorder unit. I found it really hard to lose weight because I had binge eating disorder, I had the bulimia. I was really upset that I wasn't just an anorexic. I think there is a hierarchy in eating disorders. If you have an eating disorder, you probably feel the hierarchy, but I tend to get jealous of anorexics. Even though I've had anorexic tendencies, I've kind of had the trifecta, all three of the eating disorders. But I was just really jealous sometimes of anorexics because I thought, at least you guys can restrict yourself and lose the weight. Like, I'm out here struggling to even lose the weight. I just have a fucking eating disorder. I don't even get to lose weight part, you know? So I found that really, really frustrating. And it was kind of the worst part of the eating disorder was that progress took a really, progress. I don't want to say progress because it's not progress. Losing weight is not progress. What I was trying to achieve was not progress. Makes it sound positive. This was not something you should aspire for, nor I should have aspired for. But what I mean was that it took me a really long-ish time to lose weight. And in about a year and a half, 2 years, and in about a year and a half to 2 years, I had lost all the weight I gained, but I suffered so much at the hands of my eating disorder. I mean, I really was tormented mentally, and I also ended up in an eating disorder unit. So was it worth it? I don't think so. I don't think it was at all. Definitely not. I mean, definitely not. That's out of the question. But yeah, I ended up in the eating disorder unit, and that was last year, April 2025. And since then, I've been on a slow but steady weight gain journey. I haven't done all in recovery, but I had a steady meal plan, and now I would say I'm very much recovered from an eating disorder, and I have food flexibility and freedom. I'm making it sound much simpler than it is. It was a difficult journey, but I'm speaking more about the weight gain aspect and that part of the journey. So now I have gained back around 30 kilos. I think I'm even heavier than I was when I relapsed. And it's just fascinating to me because what I've learned is that I wasn't crazy when I was in all-in recovery. When I relapsed, I thought, wow, you're crazy. You gained so much weight that you didn't need to. Like, part of the reason why I relapsed from all in was because I thought maybe I'd got it wrong. Maybe I'd got recovering from an eating disorder wrong. Like, maybe I didn't need to gain weight. I don't know. I didn't understand recovering from an eating disorder. I just didn't know enough about it. I didn't know what was right, what was wrong. I thought I was really frustrated with myself. I thought I'd made a bad decision. And now it's just so reassuring to me that I gained all that weight back because it shows that this is actually weight that my body needed. That I wasn't crazy in the first place when I did all in and gained all that weight, because I needed that weight. The same way my body, when I was restricted before, then gained 20, 30 kilos, it did it a second time. It's not just one time. And I think that shows and proves to me more than anything that this weight is where my body needed and needs to be. Because not once, but twice did my body try to get to this weight. I'm gonna have a sip of my tea. I'm having the same berry hibiscus tea. It's delicious. It's so good. So for me, it was just reassuring. All of a sudden, I realized that I wasn't to blame when I was 17, that I didn't do anything wrong. I blamed myself so much for gaining that weight, for trying to recover, for doing it wrong, when in reality, I was right. My body's natural response was right. And so I think I almost experimented a little and tried 2 different forms of recovery, all in and also a slower approach. And in terms of attaining a certain weight or physique, the result is the same, right? With both options, all in recovery and a slower weight gain recovery, both led me to the exact same kind of weight and body, but all in kind of overwhelmed me, whereas gaining the weight slower let me also mentally understand what I was doing and understand recovery more, and kind of gave me more time to change the way I thought about my body. Because obviously, all in, I had no time to really adjust my mind to the mindset of someone 20 kilos heavier. But this time round, I had so much more time to adjust my mind to the weight I was gaining. So when it comes to eating disorder recovery and figuring out what works for you, I would always pick a slower, more sustainable option, because it just gives your mind more time to adjust to your new body weight, and it gives your brain more time to kind of change your ways and patterns of thinking. But I wouldn't get angry with yourself if you have all-in tendencies, like to eat whatever you want, because that is also part of the eating disorder recovery journey, is finally having the freedom to eat what you want. And especially during the early stages, you might want to eat everything you see. And I just wouldn't get angry with yourself either, or overwhelmed by that. I know sometimes I had a few binges, or a few times that I felt out of control this time around recovering from my eating disorder. And at the time it felt like the end of the world, super catastrophic, but now it's absolutely fine. So yeah, my weight has fluctuated so much over the years. And sometimes I get stressed about what people think. I mean, people who have known me for 3-4 years have seen me gain and then lose, and then gain and then lose weight. And I wonder if they're like, what on earth is going on with her? Like, is she okay? And all these things. And, I worry about what people think, but I just have to kind of shut it out, because that doesn't matter. The only thing that matters is my health. And this has been my individual journey, and I've had a lot of different struggles, and they have shown up physically for me. And it's okay. It's okay. I have enough to worry about. I'm not going to worry about what people think. I'm not going to worry about... I'm really proud of myself for overcoming my eating disorder. It really affected me. And what people think about my weight gain and weight loss has nothing to do with me. The only thing that I can control is myself and my reaction, and I'm just going to choose to keep focusing on my path. And if people take issue or have something to say, they can come and say it to my face. Another thing I wanted to touch on in this episode is how to not be afraid of weight gain, because in eating disorder recovery, that tends to be a typical thing we need to do, is gain weight. Or even just in general, if you're recovering from a restricted relationship with food, whatever you're recovering from, we tend to need to gain weight. Not all the time. I had a friend in the eating disorder unit who was focused on just maintaining weight, but this can still apply to you if you're in that position, because it's not just fear about weight gain, but fear about weighing in general, fear about your weight, about being heavier, all these different things. So, how did I stop being scared of weight gain or just weighing heavier? Truthfully, I don't know. When I was in the eating disorder unit a year ago, I was not prepared to gain weight. I was not prepared at all, actually, to gain weight. And I kept setting limits about where I wanted to stop gaining weight. And then I kept surpassing these limits. It started off as 1 kilo, and then I was like, maybe I'll be less than this. And then I kept surpassing that, and I had to set new goals for myself. And it freaked me out every time I surpassed those weights that I had set as a limit for myself. So you know what I would actually recommend doing, guys, is not setting a limit for yourself. Like, throw out the numbers. I know. If you told me that, I would have said, fuck you. But maybe if you can help it, try being open-minded to not setting a limit for yourself. Because I'm going to tell you right now, it doesn't work. I did it. I set a limit, then I had to set 20. I said, I'm not going to gain more weight than X, and then 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 I threw it out the window. So just do yourself a favor, throw it out the window at the start. It's not going to work, my love. It's not, okay? That's not how your recovery is going to work. It still counts as control if you are saying, I can gain some weight, but only X amount, so I'm still under this. You're still engaging in eating disorder behavior. So let's throw it out the window. Let's throw it completely out the window. Yeah. Eventually, I had to throw this limit out the window and say, you know what? I'm just going to surrender and accept wherever my body chooses to land. Because eventually your body will land in a certain place and in a certain weight, or it will fluctuate very little between a few values. The set point, we've heard of it before. Something else I did that helped me become okay with my weight gain was I tried to remind myself of everything that I have now in this body that I don't have in the other body. And a lot of it was just food freedom for me. I know if you have an eating disorder, a dream of yours is food freedom and to be able to eat what you want and feel okay. And that is something that I got because I recovered from an eating disorder and because I got a bigger body weight. Sometimes it's just about accepting all the things that you have now that you didn't have before. It's like, it's not even about the weight or about the body. You just have to look at what you have now and compare it to what you had before. Because I have so much more now in this body. I gained so much more than just weight. And I know that's everywhere online. And it's not that I've gained this crazy social life and all these different things. I gained food freedom and I gained a little bit of peace in myself. And that's more than enough. It's worth the wait. So just reminding myself about what I'd gained alongside the weight really helped me. Making a list on your notes app in your phone, whatever it is, whatever is accessible to you. Just try to reassure yourself gently. I think I was also scared that I would be less beautiful if I gained weight, if people would find me less attractive. When I was underweight, I was celebrated a lot for my beauty, by girls at school, by the boys, by whoever. I was, to society standards, a very beautiful girl. And I still am a very beautiful girl. I want to put that out there. I am very beautiful. I'm in a different body. My body is different, but I am still very beautiful. But it's hard because I thought I maybe would be uglier or not as beautiful when I gained more weight. And I think gaining weight just forced me to question actually a lot of the values I had about life and beauty in general. And it forced me to become less shallow of a person. It forced me to realize that a person's beauty isn't just about their external, but also their inside. I think my heart and who I am makes me more beautiful. So kind of the last thing you have to do when you're gaining weight is actually challenge your beliefs about beauty and thinness and how people should look. And you have to be really honest with yourself about what you value. I definitely used to be more shallow or have beliefs about the world that were critical and judgmental about others. And I used to judge people and their weights and how they looked. And I'm just so much less judgmental now. And I find so many more people beautiful. And honestly, gaining weight made me a better person. It made me a kinder person. I was mean when I was skinny. I was. So I think you might have to be prepared to let go of some of your beliefs and values and acknowledge that they're wrong or not wrong, that they just do not serve you. They don't serve the body you're in, and you have to be prepared to accept and take on new values. And I would say just approach everything with an open mind and an open heart, because you're not going to go wrong there. If you're just open-minded, I've become such a better person, so much more loving. I find so much more beauty in the world. I find more people beautiful. Life's just better when you don't judge your body and yourself and your looks and other people's looks all the time. And the world is just going to be a better place if we all did that. It is. It is. Perhaps the problem never was about you or your body, but just your perception of you and your body. Maybe it was never about being thin, but being thin to others. I don't know, I made myself small because I wanted to be beautiful, but I also made myself small because I wasn't okay being in this world. And I wanted to make myself smaller for others. And I just wanted to be celebrated, but I can celebrate myself in whatever shape or size I am. And I'm beautiful, and the right people in my life will see that I'm beautiful. They'll see me on the inside for who I truly am, and they'll find that beautiful. I don't want anyone in my life who just cares for me because of how I look or because of how my body looks. I want people in my life who love me for me. And so, yeah, weight gain forced me to be a better person. I think that concludes today's episode of Children of Divorce. I am happy I have a community that I can be so open with. And I know you guys accept me for me and that you guys celebrate me, and I'm celebrating you right back at you. I hope you know that and feel that. And I love you guys. I'm gonna have a really nice evening tonight. I'm gonna go to this cute Italian restaurant. I'm not gonna go to the gym or anything like that. I was feeling bad in my body today. I was like, maybe I should make myself work out, go on a run. I'm not doing that. I'm gonna be happy and comfortable in my body because this is home. And I love her, and I'm gonna celebrate her. And I hope you do the same for yours. Love you guys. See you in the next episode. Bye. Bye. It's the ghost of Christmas past.